Ryan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday. Thanks for tuning into the Tom O'Brien Show with me. We kick things off on Monday, and markets continuing the run that we started on Friday. Higher prices right now, and you have an S&P coming up near 7,000 on the futures. We're up by 45 points or 0.6%. And how about the run since Friday? You check out the lows. How about 250 S&P points from that low early? Well, technically Thursday night, overnight into Friday, from where we are now, 250 S&P points. You know what will help the S&P? When you got a company like NVIDIA adding 500 billion in market cap. That's what you're talking about. Almost 25 billion shares, just shy of that number. NVIDIA up to 193.66 this morning. You're up by almost 3%. NASDAQ 100 up by 244 points. Let's look at some of the volume numbers. Now, Friday's bounce, we're talking about, not as encouraging as you may want. Today, it's not going to be the number either. You're at 423,000 contracts in the NASDAQ. You're going into 639. We'll have a big final hour, but that's not going to hit that number likely. And S&P even more pronounced. Okay, you're at 926,000 contracts. You're at 1.7 million on that bounce, and you're coming into selling of almost 2 million contracts. Dow, that was quite a bounce on Friday. Okay. So you say, you know, the Dow is looking like the strongest, and the Russell's right there with it. Look at the volume. No drop-off whatsoever. So Dow and Russell leading the way right now. And look at this channel the Dow's in. From August, you bounce off that lower part yet again, and you check out the Russell. The Russell almost all the way from April. 2701 highs out there of 2749. Bitcoin up by 1,000. It's 71,300 right now. Quite the sell-off. In terms of where you were on Thursday night, clawed it back Friday, and we're right where we were Sunday night. Had to recalibrate where that 60,000 was. Thursday evening coming into Friday. Now I'll throw you a quick headline as we jump around, folks. Oh, come on. Fed's Waller says Trump-induced crypto euphoria may be fading. You think so? No shot on the president at all. You think the euphoria is fading? Maybe, possibly, right? And we're coming back. We test the bottom of this area. Pretty remarkable that you're bouncing on 60,000, which is the high from 2021 in Bitcoin. But how about that volume? We haven't seen volume like that in years, almost literally. Jump over to Ethereum. 2141. How about that for volume? We had an event last week, folks. All right, we've had some wild times in Ethereum and Bitcoin, but the volume we saw last week, a lot of pressure to the downside. Crypto, most of all. Speaking of downside pressure, dollar under pressure. Another move today, 96.82 right now. And yeah, look at the weekly. It's Monday, and you're taking out almost the entire week of last week, and there's your move. And that's what you're taking out. Put this thing on a monthly. You're just rolling over again with dollar weakness at 96.82 right now. And yeah, metal's finding a bid yet again. Like to see a little bit more volume on this bounce. Check out gold contract on the volume right now. Boy, look at this. Nothing today. 112,000 contracts in gold. 171 was light on Friday. We haven't had a real nice day of volume to the upside in the metals just yet. Gold, very light. Silver, oof. Look at this bounce we got going on, folks. 62,000. Jump over to platinum. All right, not as much of a drop-off, but yeah, no resounding bounce on volume quite yet in those metals. All right, let's jump over to some of the tech stocks. As I mentioned, you got NVIDIA trading higher. And look at how, you can make the case that we are just in this consolidation, man. And you're talking about a consolidation that's now stretching 7 months for NVIDIA. something a little bit higher. Got out of that range up there in October. But look at that. Pretty well defined from about 170 to 195. You're trading at 190.55 right now. And that was a nice break with volume last week on NVIDIA to the upside. And fundamentally, okay, part of the reason why NVIDIA is trading so high is because these tech companies are going to spend so much money on chips. Now, Google, okay, trades lower last week on their numbers. Almost gets back the entirety of that overnight move. Check it out. Wednesday, you rip lower. You open at almost 300. You hit a low of 306, and we finished the day at almost 330. We're trading at 324 right now. But check out the debt that they are going to be pushing out, folks. Okay? Watch this. Alphabet embarks on a global bond spree to fund record spending. One of the bonds they're pushing out is a 100-year bond, okay, in Switzerland and the UK. One of those, maybe the UK, the 100-year bond. They're going to try that out. First time it's happened since the 90s. Google is set to raise $20 billion from dollar bond offerings today, more than the $15 billion initially expected. It's also pitching investors on what would be its first ever offering in Switzerland and the UK, and the latter would include that 100-year bond. Last week, as much as $185 billion, so the range they gave for CapEx was $175 to $185 for the year. My guess would be you're just going to see these numbers continue to ratchet up the way that has been. And some of these companies are already showing promise. Google's one of them. Meta is one of them as well. The company said investments are already boosting revenue. They're going to be spending the money, but they have to raise the money. And yeah, the hyperscalers. How's that for Google in the blue there? $200 billion. Now, I say they're going to go up. Like, even in this chart that we're looking at, they only put Alphabet at the mid-range of their estimate, which is 175 to 185. I would be surprised if Alphabet comes in anywhere near the mid-range of their CapEx at 180 when Amazon's already spending 200, right? Amazon's spending 200. They're in the blue, excuse me. Oracle's up there, small player still, but the two biggest, Amazon, Alphabet, you have Meta in the black, and Microsoft in the yellow. I mean, look how much more money. It's amazing when you look. Amazon and Alphabet almost double what Microsoft is spending, which is just a behemoth. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about Microsoft and Google when we get back. Microsoft getting a bid today up 3.2%. We're coming back with Steve Rhodes, folks. Stay tuned.